Hello, my dear friend. Let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you let yourself rest? Without guilt. Not just a quick pause between chores. I mean a real, deep breath. A moment when you sat down, looked around and thought, this is enough. You see, after 70 years of life, and everything that comes with it, we carry more than just memories. We carry habits, responsibilities, expectations. Some of them we chose, others were passed down to us. But here's the truth. Not all of them still serve you. You've worked hard, you've shown up for everyone else, and now it's time to show up for yourself. Today's message is not about giving up. It's about letting go, with purpose, with peace, and with grace. Because after all these years of doing, you've already done enough. Number 1. Perfection can wait. Let the dishes soak. For most of my life, I believed the kitchen wasn't truly clean unless every single dish was washed, dried, and put away before bedtime. No matter how tired I was, no matter how much my feet ached from standing all day, I would still find myself at the sink, scrubbing pans in silence long after everyone else had moved on. It gave me a sense of control, maybe even pride. A clean sink at the end of the night felt like a ribbon on a finished task, proof that I had done my part. But over time, I began to notice something. While I was elbow deep in soap suds, the world around me kept moving. I was missing out on quiet conversations after dinner. I was missing the chance to sit with a cup of tea, to feel the softness of the evening, to let the day end on a gentle note instead of another chore. Eventually, I asked myself a simple question. Who am I doing this for? And more importantly, what am I giving up in return? These days, I use the dishwasher for everyday meals, not just when company's over. I let it run while I rest. If I don't have a dishwasher, I give myself permission to do the dishes in stages. A few after breakfast, a few more after lunch. Or I let them wait until morning when my energy is fresh and my body isn't aching. There is no gold star for cleaning everything before you sit down, but there is real joy in choosing rest over routine. Because at this stage in life, peace matters more than perfection. And the truth is, no one ever looks back and says, I wish I had washed more dishes. But many of us do wish we had taken more time to breathe, to be, and to simply enjoy the evening. Number 2. The silent corners don't judge you. There was a time when I believed a truly clean home meant cleaning everything, even the parts no one could see. I would push heavy couches across the room just to vacuum underneath. I'd bend down beside bookshelves, straining my back to reach dusty corners behind furniture that hadn't moved in years. Why? Because I told myself it mattered. Because I believed that if I let even one speck of dust collect in a hidden spot, it meant I was falling behind, that I wasn't doing enough. But here's the truth. No one ever came into my home and looked under the sofa. No one ever complimented the space behind my recliner or the gap beneath the side table. The only person keeping track of that dust was me. And it cost me. It cost my body, my energy, my time. I would push and pull and twist, only to spend the rest of the day too sore to do anything else. That's when I realized I wasn't cleaning for peace. I was cleaning from pressure. Pressure I put on myself. These days, I do it differently. I use a small robotic vacuum that glides under most furniture. It doesn't get every crumb, but it gets enough. And enough is enough. If I don't have a vacuum like that, I'll do a deeper clean once or twice a year, during spring or autumn. The rest of the time, I let the dust stay right where it is, because those hidden corners do not define my worth. A few dust bunnies are not a failure. They are just a reminder that this house is lived in, not a showroom. And honestly, a home isn't beautiful because it's flawless. It's beautiful because it's real, because it holds your story, because it gives you peace. Let the corners be. Let your back rest. And remember, the people who love you aren't coming over to inspect. They're coming over to connect. Number 3, your pantry doesn't need to be perfect. For a long time, I treated my pantry like it was on display. Every box had to face forward. Every can had to be grouped just right. I would spend entire afternoons pulling everything out, wiping the shelves, checking expiration dates, and lining it all back up like I was preparing for a magazine photo shoot. It made me feel organized, in control, like I had a handle on things, even when life outside felt unpredictable. But here's what I began to notice. All that effort didn't actually make life easier. It just made me tired. No one else was looking inside that pantry. My family didn't care if the oatmeal was on the second shelf or the third. They just needed to find what they were looking for. And honestly, so did I. So I stopped treating it like a chore that had to be done every month. Now I keep things simple. A few clear bins for snacks or canned goods. I check for expired items once or twice a year. Usually when I feel up to it. Not on a schedule. Not because I should. Just when it makes sense. The pantry is not a place to impress people. It's a place that serves you, that holds the things that nourish your body and make your day-to-day easier. It doesn't have to be spotless to be functional. It doesn't have to be beautiful to be enough. If you know where the tea is, and you can reach the peanut butter without a struggle, then you're doing just fine. Let go of the need for perfect order. And let your pantry reflect your life, useful, lived in, and full of care. Number 4. Your walls tell a beautiful story. There was a time when I believed my walls had to be just as clean as my floors. Once a month, like clockwork, I would fill a bucket with warm soapy water, grab a sponge, and scrub the walls from top to bottom, even the parts no one ever touched. To me, it felt like a sign of discipline, of care. Like if the walls were spotless, I was doing things right. But after a while, I began to wonder, who was I doing it for? No guest ever walked into my home and said, "These walls are remarkably clean." They noticed the smell of something baking, the warmth in the room, the peace they felt sitting with me. No one cared about the walls. Only I did. And the cost? A sore shoulder, aching arms, a whole day spent chasing a level of clean that didn't change anyone's experience. Now, I do it differently. I clean what needs cleaning. Smudges around light switches, fingerprints near the door, the occasional mark in the hallway. Once a year, usually during spring, I'll do a more thorough wipe down, but only if I feel up to it. Because the truth is, your home doesn't have to be spotless to be loved. It just has to feel lived in. A scuff here or there doesn't make it messy. It makes it human. And at this stage in life, I've learned that trying to erase every mark often means erasing the time I could have spent resting, reading, or simply enjoying the moment. So let the walls be. Let them carry the little signs of a life well lived. Because those gentle marks, like us, are part of the story. Number 5. The light can wait. There was a time when a burned-out light bulb felt like an emergency. The second it went out, I would drop what I was doing, pull out a stepladder, hunt down the right replacement, and climb up to fix it. Even if it was late, even if I was tired, even if my knees didn't agree with the plan, I couldn't stand the idea of a dark corner in my home. It felt like something was out of place, like the house wasn't whole unless every bulb was working. But one day, as I stood holding that ladder, I paused, and I asked myself, is this really worth the risk? These days, if a light goes out in a space I don't use often, I let it be. If it's in a main area, I wait until it's convenient, or I ask someone for help. I also keep a few spare bulbs in an easy-to-reach drawer, so I'm not climbing or digging just to find one. Because here's the truth. At this stage of life, being capable doesn't mean doing everything ourselves. It means knowing when not to. There's no medal for replacing a bulb the second it goes out, but there is real reward in protecting your safety, your time, and your energy. And sometimes, the softer light is more comforting anyway. So let the bulb wait. Let the room stay a little dim. And know that your wisdom is shining brighter than anything on the ceiling ever could. Number 6. Your sheets don't need to impress anyone. For years, I believed that ironing bed sheets was a sign of a well-kept home. Every week, I would pull out the ironing board, heat up the iron, and spend what felt like hours trying to smooth out every wrinkle, especially on those stubborn fitted sheets that never wanted to behave. No one saw them but me. Still, I convinced myself that smooth sheets meant discipline, that they reflected care, that they somehow made my home more respectable. But here's what I realized. The moment I lay down, the wrinkles came right back. All that effort, all that time. And for what? Now I take my sheets out of the dryer while they're still warm, give them a good shake, and put them right on the bed. They're fresh, they're soft, they smell clean, and they cradle me just the same. It turns out, comfort has nothing to do with how flat the fabric is. At this point in life, I no longer measure my care by how smooth my linens look. I measure it by how rested I feel. And let me tell you, I sleep just fine without the iron. So if you've been pressing your pillowcases out of habit or pressure, or some old idea of what makes a proper home, let me say this gently. You don't have to anymore. You've done enough. Let the sheets be soft, not perfect. Let bedtime be a blessing, not a task. Because rest is earned, and you've more than earned yours. Number 7. Blankets with wrinkles. Like us, they carry stories. There was a time in my life when I treated throw blankets and rugs like fragile artifacts. I believed they needed to be washed constantly, not just when they were dirty, but whenever someone touched them. If a guest sat on the couch, the blanket would go straight into the washer the next morning. If a rug looked even slightly dusty or crumpled, I'd haul it outside, shake it out, beat it, and try to force it into the washing machine, even if it barely fit. I told myself I was just being thorough, but if I'm honest, I was chasing an idea of perfection that no one else expected from me. I thought a spotless home was the only kind of respectable home. I thought people would judge the dust or the softness of a blanket. But of course, they never did. The truth is, our homes are not museums. They are places to live. They are meant to hold our daily comforts, not look like showrooms. What I didn't see back then was how this habit of over-cleaning actually wore things down. The fibers would fray. The colors would fade. The softness that made the blankets so comforting in the first place would slowly disappear. All because I couldn't let them be used without trying to make them new again. Now I've changed my rhythm. If something has a visible stain, I spot clean it. If it smells, I wash it. But most of the time, a simple shakeout and a little fresh air is more than enough. I let the rugs settle into their place. I let the blankets wrinkle and drape naturally. Because, like us, these things are allowed to soften with time. They are allowed to look lived in. That's not neglect. That's love. That's life. And no one I care about comes into my home to check the fabric. They come to share a moment, a story, a cup of tea. They come for warmth. And these blankets, with their quiet wrinkles, offer just that. So let them wrinkle. Let them carry the marks of everyday living. They aren't just decorations. They're part of your story. And that story is beautiful. Number 8. Not every space needs a deep clean. For many years, I treated the garage and the attic like hidden battlegrounds. Every few months, I'd march in there determined to get things under control. I would roll up my sleeves, climb stepladders, dig through dusty boxes, and lift items I hadn't touched in years. It felt like a project that never ended. And even after hours of hard work, it somehow never felt done. At the heart of it, I think I believed that every corner of my home even the ones no one saw, had to be spotless. That if the attic was disorganized or the garage a little messy, it reflected badly on me. But the truth is, it doesn't. Eventually, I realized something important. The purpose of these spaces isn't to be perfect. They're meant to be functional. That's it. They're for storage, not for show. And if a few boxes are stacked in the corner, or the paint cans aren't labeled just so, life goes on. These days, I take a gentler approach. Once or twice a year, I'll take a quick look around just to make sure nothing dangerous is lying around. No leaking containers, no broken tools, no tripping hazards. If I happen to feel motivated, I might clear out a corner or sort a shelf. But there's no pressure, no schedule, no more exhausting all-day cleanouts. And let me tell you, the peace that comes with letting go of that pressure is something I wouldn't trade for anything. We spend so much of our lives trying to stay on top of things, trying to prove we're still capable, still organized, still with it. But sometimes, the wisest thing we can do is recognize when good enough is truly good enough. Your garage doesn't need to look like a catalog. Your attic doesn't need to be Pinterest-worthy. It just needs to be safe and maybe a little less stressful to walk through. Let go of the battle, keep what matters, and spend your energy on things that fill you, not on sorting screws in the heat or lifting boxes in the cold, because some corners are better left a little messy, especially when your heart is finally at ease. Number 9. Silver doesn't need to shine to matter. There was a time when I treated my silverware like sacred treasures. Before every special meal, holiday, or family gathering, I'd open that velvet-lined drawer, gently take out each fork, spoon, and knife, and begin the ritual of polishing. I'd spend hours rubbing out every spot of tarnish, every dull patch, working until every surface gleamed. To me, polished silver meant care. It meant tradition. It meant I was doing things the right way, just like my mother did before me. It wasn't just about clean utensils. It was about pride, presentation, legacy. But over the years, something became clear. At those gatherings, people weren't marveling at the silverware. They were talking, laughing, sharing memories, reaching for second helpings. They complimented the food, the warmth in the room, the feeling of being welcomed. No one, not once, said, "These spoons are shining beautifully," or "This fork is flawless." I realized that the ritual of polishing was something I had clung to not because it truly mattered, but because I thought it should, because I believed it proved something about me as a host, as a homemaker, maybe even as a woman. And yet, every time I spent hours polishing, I arrived at the table worn out. I'd already used up so much of my energy before anyone had even knocked on the door. So I stopped. These days, I save the silverware for the truly special occasions, and even then, I don't overdo it. I use a quick polish, a soft cloth, or sometimes just a wipe before setting the table. It's enough. The pieces may not shine like they once did, but they still carry the memories, and they still do their job just fine. Most days, I use simple stainless steel utensils. Easy to clean, sturdy, beautiful in their simplicity. They don't need to sparkle. They just need to serve. And in truth, I've come to understand something deeper. The people I welcome into my home are not here for the shine. They're here for me, for the conversation, the connection, the presence. Polishing silver was always about presentation, but these days, I'm more interested in presence. I'd rather spend time at the table fully present than arrive with aching hands and a tired spirit. I'd rather share a story than polish a spoon. And I believe that matters more than anything you could place beside a dinner plate. So if you've been telling yourself the silver needs to shine to show you care, let me offer another truth. It's not the glow of the utensil that stays with people. It's the warmth of your welcome. Let your silver rest. Let it age with you. It has earned the right to slow down, just like you have. Number 10. The strength to say, not tonight. For most of my life, I believed the day wasn't truly over until the kitchen was clean. After every meal, I stood at the sink and scrubbed every dish, rinsed every cup, dried every fork, and wiped down every surface before I allowed myself to rest. It didn't matter how tired I was or how long the day had been. The sink had to be empty, the counters clear, and the towels folded. I told myself it was about discipline, about finishing what I started. But in truth, it became a routine that slowly began to steal my peace. While I was standing alone in the kitchen, the evening was happening without me. Conversations continued in the living room. Laughter floated from the next room, and the quiet, gentle rhythm of the day winding down was passing me by. I missed that softness. I missed the presence. I missed the chance to sit, to be still, to simply exist in the calm after the storm of activity. One evening, something shifted. I looked at the dishes in the sink and said out loud, "Not tonight." It wasn't a dramatic declaration. It was a small act of self-kindness, a moment of clarity. And from that moment forward, things began to change. Now, I use my dishwasher not just for holidays or big gatherings, but for regular meals too. And when I don't feel up to doing the dishes, I let them wait. I do them in the morning when my energy is fresh, or I do a few at a time throughout the day. If I don't have a dishwasher, I wash in stages, not because I'm lazy, but because I'm wise enough to know my limits. There is no law that says every dish must be washed before bed. That rule was one I created for myself a long time ago, and I've since outgrown it. Because what matters more than an empty sink is how I feel standing in that kitchen. Am I peaceful? Am I rested? Am I present with the people around me? Those are the questions I ask now. We live in a world that celebrates constant motion. Even in our later years, we're praised for staying busy, for always doing, for pushing through. But I've come to believe there's real strength in knowing when to stop. There's grace in allowing yourself to pause, to say, "I've done enough for today." No one will remember you for how often your sink was clean, but they will remember how it felt to be with you. Your presence, your warmth, your peace. So if the dishes are still sitting there tonight, let them. Sit down, breathe, let the quiet come in. You've earned it, and you don't need anyone's permission to rest. If you take away just one thing from everything we've shared today, let it be this: letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. You are not less capable for choosing ease. You're not less caring for choosing rest. You're not less worthy for doing things differently than you used to. After 70 years or more of giving, doing, and showing up for others, you deserve to shift the focus gently back to yourself, not with guilt, not with apology, but with the quiet confidence that says, "I've done enough, and now I get to live on my terms." The chores we've let go of are not signs of laziness. They are reminders that we know what matters now, that we've learned to see through the noise of perfection and find the peace in imperfection, that we understand how sacred our time and energy truly are. So, whether it's dust under the couch, a sink full of dishes, or a blanket that's been used and loved, let it be. Let it all be. Because your home is not a reflection of your worth. It's a place for comfort, for joy, for stillness, and above all, for love. And if this message touched something in you today, if it made you pause, nod, or even smile softly, then maybe it's time to act. Let one thing go, just one, and see how it feels to reclaim that little bit of peace. And if someone you love needs to hear this, send it to them. Share it. Because sometimes the kindest thing we can do is remind each other, you don't have to do it all. You've already done more than enough.